Good afternoon. I hereby call this agenda review of Nacogdoches ISD Board of Trustees to order. Let the record show that the quorum is present and notice of this meeting was posted as required by Texas Open Meeting Act. Mr. James Montoya is currently out of state and unable to attend today's meeting. Today, all items on the agenda are for discussions only. No voting will take place at this meeting. Thank you for joining us, and ask to turn your cell phones to the silent mode, please. At this portion, we are in a public comment. We have not received any requests to address the board. However, those who are interested to address the board in the future, the notice of this meeting and the instructions are posted at the same site. We're moving on to consent agenda. In this portion of the meeting, we will discuss items from the consent agenda. Again, no action will be taken on these items. And we'll start with the board meetings minutes. Board, is there any question concerning the board meeting minutes?
We might want to look at who is listed as the vice president on both of those.
Yes.
Didn't even pay attention.
And corrected.
Yeah.
Very good. All right. Now we move on to the business office report. Mr. Michael Martin, Deputy Superintendent.
Thank you, President Norman, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. We'll begin our budget with the budget amendments. I believe that you can find those on page 16 in your board book. The first budget amendment is an increase in instructional leadership and an increase in gifts and bequests. Then a decrease in fund balance for $2,000. The purpose being that $2,000 came in June, and so it fell into the fund balance, and we're bringing it back out for this year's donation there. Then we have budget for insurance proceeds to pay for vehicles. We have an increase in instructional leadership of $14.95, an increase in plant services, plant maintenance and operations of $38.45, and then a decrease of $53.40 in the fund balance. Item C, pool funds from the fund balance for unused vehicle replacements budgeted in 23-24. We did an increase function 51 plant maintenance and operations of $127,190. Also an increase of function 52 security and monitoring services for $155,274. And then a decrease from fund balance of $282,464. As well, we pulled funds for the fund balance for unused camera security that we budgeted in 2023-24. From general fund, we had an increase in function 52 of security monitoring services of $19,843, and then a decrease from fund balance of $19,843. We had a pull from fund balance for Absolute Technology, which the board approved earlier this year, of $250,000 from increase to data processing, and then a decrease from fund balance of $250,000. And item F, we had a transfer of funds per campus request from instruction and instructional leadership to instructional resources, school leadership, and community services. We had an increase of function 12, instructional resources, media, of $7,693. Function 23, school leadership, for $1,100. Function 61 for community service of $1,500, and then a decrease in function 11 instruction of $1,100, a decrease in function 21 instructional leadership for $9,193, And item G, pull funds from fund balance to pay new tables, and serving lines at Regay Elementary. We had an increase, the fund is a student nutrition fund. We had an increase, Function 35 food services of $108,869, and likewise, we had a decrease in fund balance for the same amount. Be happy to answer any questions the board may have on the budget amendments.
Board, you have any question?
Coach Flashy, just a point of item to the board, specifically for the community. Anytime you see a raise, when you see the money coming out of fund balance, remember, every year when we get to the end of the financial year, we can't carry that without obtaining the merchandise, so it goes back into the fund balance. Then when we start the new budget year, it looks like we're doing all this expenditures from fund balance, but these are all promised funds that were to be expended last year. We weren't able to acquire them, so we put them back in the budget from fund balance and the expenditures. Just a point of clarification for the community as you're looking at this, these are not additional purchases. This was obligations that the board had committed to in the 23-24 school year. Now we're starting the 24-25 school year, and now we have to follow through with our commitment to purchasing these items. So just a point of clarification for the community.
Thank you. Mr. Martin, we're going to donation under $2,500.
Thank you, President Norman. Donations under $2,500, excuse me. The Nacogdoches Independent School District received donations from Cadence Bank for convocation in the amount of $1,500. Also, from XETX for convocation of $500. CBTX donated $2,000 for convocation. Southside Bank donated $500 for convocation. And the district received $1,500 from Excel ER for convocation.
We certainly are very thankful for their contribution and support.
Thank you, President Newman. That concludes business office reports.
We're moving on to investment report.
Board, you have your investment report in your board book on page 21. And we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have there.
Board, do you have any questions? Okay, if not, we move into item 4 with miscellaneous business office report.
Coach Norman will answer any questions the board may have there.
Personally, I don't. Board, does anybody have any question? Now we're moving on to item C, which is purchase over $50,000. Is Region 7 E agreement. Dr. Daya Hill, Assistant Superintendent, please.
Thank you, President Nuriman, Board of Trustees and Superintendent Trujillo. I would like to ask Dr. Jolynn Corley to come to the podium, please.
Good afternoon, President Nuriman, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Trujillo. We're seeking board approval for our Region 7E agreements. This is our annual renewal for the Academic Content Co-op and the Title I service package. Access to these resources ensure that our teachers and administrators have access to professional learning opportunities for our 4 content areas and also for early childhood. It also provides us with support for our federal funding application and compliance reporting. The approval includes the purchase of the Academic Content Co-op in the amount of $64,061 and the Title I package for $50,454. I'd be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Board, questions? Sir?
Same as last year.
President Nierman, one of the things that's we've adapted, I think, Dr. Hill, this is the second year we've done this, I believe, where we take individuals from the district to see that it serves a purpose for Nacogdoches ISD. And I think last year, we took 3 vehicles up to the service center from all the various departments to make sure that when we're expending resources, it's not in something that our teachers do not find value in. And so we had an excursion up to the Service Center, and they actually create a beautiful opportunity. I think it's pretty much a full day to get up there and go through this. They hear each one of the presentations, be it from technology with Kirsten to instructional support, evaluations, HR purposes, facilities, safety and security. So just so you'll know, when we get into this request, and when you see this come up, and we're talking about making this investment, our folks are going up there and sitting in a room and going through and figuring out, is this something of value for our teachers and for our school district? It's not just simply an email that comes out, we look at a piece of paper, we go up there and actually massage it and look at it very thoroughly. So just wanted to make sure our community sees the tremendous effort that we put behind these e-agreements, and we appreciate tremendously what the Service Center does to provide our teachers with some valuable training.
I wanted to just comment that President Farshidi and I attended this Region 7 conference in Kilgore this last Friday and Saturday, and we went to a very interesting what goes on in the business office in a day, and the ByBrook was part of that, and both of the people were very experienced. There were things that they said that I had not even thought of, and so it was really interesting to go and learn about something that we don't have control over, but yet we need to know about. And so you found that also very
That's
interesting,
correct.
Coach.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Corley. Next, we move on to amplified reading. Again, Dr. Hill.
And President Nurman, I'd like for Dr. Corley to speak on Dr. Welch's behalf, please.
Dr. Corley.
Dr. Corley, before you begin, let me clarify something. When you see this handing off, I just want to make sure we clearly understand the handoff, why it's that way. We're wondering, why isn't Dr. Hill answering the questions whenever the board's asking? Well, Dr. Hill works on the secondary side, and Dr. Welch works on the elementary side. Dr. Corley doesn't have that privilege. Dr. Corley works pre-K all the way to 12th grade. So she's the voice of reason when it comes to the across the board, the grade levels. So that's why when you see it handed off, there's no doubt Dr. Hill can answer the question, but what I want to make sure is our secondary, we have our high school principal sitting out here in the audience. When he hears Dr. Hill speak, I don't want him thinking, oh, it's just Dr. Hill, she's speaking for the high school. No, Dr. Corley speaks, it's for all the district. Just a point of clarification for the community whenever they see the questions that are being asked, why Dr. Corley is responding. Thank you so much, Dr. Corley.
And she does a great job.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Hill. STEM Academy Year
Dr.
11.
Corley.
Dr. Corley.
Yeah.
I guess.
By reading.
This purchase that's over $50,000 is for Reading Amplify. It's an instructional resource for language arts and Spanish language arts that includes teacher materials such as like the teacher support materials, sound cards, sound posters, flip books that will be used for instruction, as well as decodable readers for our students. This instructional resource is a State Board of Education approved high-quality instructional material. It's been approved by the SBOE, and it will support the implementation plans for our district for grades kindergarten and first grade. We're asking for the approval of $78,937.92 from instructional material allotment funds and $90,000 from ESSER funds for a total of $168,937.92.
I have a question. I Googled these people. I'm not even sure if I got the right ones. Because it was all about digital, and so my question is this digital stuff or is this hard?
Hard.
Copy?
It's hard copy. Now, they do have digital access, but part of our implementation plan, after reflection and coordination with our campus administrators and district leaders, is that it's going to be imperative for us to have the paper copies for our students to have the decodables that align to the phonemic awareness so that they can move their fingers left to right and really decode the sounds and identify with the letters.
So this is replacing what?
So in previous years, we'd utilize an instructional resource called Fontes and Pinnell. And so we're shifting. After a year-long process that was facilitated by Dr. Welsh, we had a language arts think tank where we collected feedback from teachers and administrators about how we can perform better in our educational practice with literacy.
And this really appealed to them. Okay. Now, I want to preface this by saying I trust Dr. Welch, and I trust Dr. Corley, I trust Dr. Hill, but she hasn't anything to do with this. But I have to say this, because I know there are people out there who are thinking this, so I want you to address it. This isn't going to be the next flavor of the month, right? I mean, we're introducing this, we are choosing this in July, school starts in August, this is a new way to teach these things. How are our teachers prepared?
I'm so thankful that you asked that question. We're in our 4th year of the state-required reading academies for our K-3 teachers, and so this has a direct alignment with the science of teaching reading. It also provides explicit support for our teachers so that they can focus on the internalization of the lesson and delivery instead of being hyper-focused on planning and where am I going to get this and how am I going to get this activity together. So we're kind of seeing a mind shift, definite mind shift in the way that our teachers will be planning and collaborating together, and that's exciting.
That is exciting. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I've been thinking a lot about how we should be looking at things, and one of the ways it should be that we have everything that we adopt here should be adopted by the teachers, and there should be some kind of timeline. All teachers will be competent in this by X date, and then at the end of the year, we have some kind of accountability that was this worth the value that we paid for what we bought? So is there some way we address that?
Yes, sir, I can speak to that. Our implementation plan has been very thorough. We have a training of trainer model. We call it Leaders of Learners, and that has a representative from each campus, elementary campus. And so they've been trained with myself and the other literacy coordinators. We've had research-based instructional strategy training. We've had product academy training, so we really know what we're getting, and then we're going to be able to take it back home to those campuses and teach our teachers hands-on. We're also developing a timeline for program evaluation that will be specific to the instructional resources that each content area and grade level have implemented.
Excellent, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any more question, board?
President Fashid, the return on investment, the ROI, which is what Dr. Groman's talking about, something that has been established in the pilot for Amplify. This isn't something that was just created in a whim, that TEA came up and put it on their list. They've actually launched it in multiple districts. They followed that to look at the return on investment and look at the investment, not just the investment of resources, but the academic growth of students. So it's proven itself to align itself with the support. Plus, the tremendous support we're going to get from the agency with regards to the service center and some of the support that it's going to be invaluable to our teachers is very, very beneficial. Dr. Hill, if I'm not mistaken, because this is also on the adopted list from the state, there's an incentive as well to the school district and to boards financially per student pupil of adopting this textbook, this resource. So we would be out there on our own. If we went out there and picked a curriculum that is not off the list that the state has, then it would be coming off of our docket. Our financials would be here. However, the state, because they've vetted this, they've looked through it, they see the return on investment, they're putting a lot of worth behind it and saying, we're going to provide you per pupil, I believe it's $40 per student.
It's 40, yes, it's 40.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though.
That's correct. Yes, sir.
It's $40 per student, so it's across the board. And it comes back to say, this is how much we believe in the return on investment on this. But we're going to do some internal things. We have with the benchmarks. We have some items throughout the year that we can actually measure the growth of students. There are some strong opinions out there in the community of education when it comes to the science of literacy. Okay? Look it up on the web. It's going to be everywhere. But everybody falls to the far right or falls to the far left. What we are dealing with is how do we equip our teachers with the best tools. Ms. Apt, I'm going to put it out there because the community needs to know that Ms. Apt has asked this question. How about the resources that we've had invested in the past? Those resources continue to remain in the school. We use them as resources. We have a plethora of libraries that are out there, so when teachers are looking at something, want to complement the instruction, we have that. We're going to be able to provide that support. We didn't just throw out the bathwater with the baby and all of that. We're still looking at making sure that we have the main structure, and then we provide some support that's on the side. And then you just approve the instruction relationship with the Service Center. That's ongoing support. Amplify is a state initiative, so we'll see a tremendous support at the Service Center. So our teachers are not going to be without training and without support, not just at the district level, but also at the regional level. Just wanted to make sure to address the return on investment on so many different facets when it comes to the academics. We spent a lot of time these last 3 years talking about crap. Okay? COVID, weather, all kinds of other stuff. But we are now getting to the root of it, which is academic growth, academic efficiency and meeting the needs of our students. That's the job of public education. All this other stuff has just been noise, and pardon me for using that language when I say it, but it has been. Now we're going to get to the real stuff and providing the support. And Dr. Corley, with your department and the work that you've been doing this last year in preparing us for this journey is very, I applaud you and the work that you've done for that. And this board also recognizes that support and wants to make sure that we have a great return on investment of whatever commitments we have.
Since you brought it up.
Yes, ma'am.
I just want to elaborate more specifically, because I looked back, I'm a bit of a pack rat, and I looked back in my notebook of what we did this month, last year, and the things that we adopted and all of that, and was reminded, and so I want to remind the public, several years ago when we did Fontes and Pinnell, with that came a lot of independent readers that we still have, and that's more reading material for the children, not just K and First. And then last year, this time, we approved classroom libraries from Book something? Book Source? Yeah, yeah. So, because wherever you are on literacy, the one thing that stands for whether left or right here, the more books you can offer a child and their different interests, you find their interests, and even if it's Calvin and Hobbes, and I'm speaking from experience, then they will pick it up and learn to read.
Yes.
So I applaud all this work you've been doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Curley. Now we're on STEM Academy, year 11. Dr. Hill.
Thank you, President Nerman, Board of Trustees, Superintendent Trujillo. I can't believe we're in year 11 of our collaboration with
Wow.
SFA STEM Center. So we have 29 incoming ninth grade students for a total of 113 high school students participating this year in our STEM Academy. And so they kept the price at $120,000 for this year. I do believe it will go up next year by about 8 to 10%, just because of inflation and the amount of consumables and things that they're purchasing. I know in visiting with Dr. Redfield, they have been hard at work revamping the STEM curriculum this year in collaboration with some of our teachers as well as Lufkin ISD. So we're pleased to bring this to you today.
Dr. Hill.
Yes.
Number was 113. Compared with the years past, has it increased or stays the same?
Down a little bit.
Of course, you've asked me a question I don't remember.
No, I looked it up.
Did you look it up? Okay, thank you, Ms. Abb. What did you find out?
Because I was wondering about the price.
Yes.
Last year was 119, so it's just down a little bit.
And we have worked with them over this past year to make sure that we keep our incoming ninth grade number to a certain number, which is in our memorandum of understanding with them, and primarily because of the labs that they do, to make sure that we have and remain with the safety rules that are involved.
And curiosity, is there any time anyone become overwhelmed and decided to quit on it?
Yes.
It has?
Yes, yes, sir, for those very reasons. And because of the, when you get to STEM 3 and STEM 4, especially when you're going into STEM 4, you're doing your proposal, you're getting prepared for your science fair, we do see some of that. And sometimes it just doesn't fit within the students' schedules as well.
Thank you.
You bet.
President Farshid and Board, one thing I want to make sure to highlight, and she glassed over pretty quickly, but she did a lot of work with this. Dr. Hills worked tremendously well with SFA, and we want to share our appreciation for SFA.
Absolutely.
They came in, and we were going to see a price hike this year.
We were.
However, just so the board's aware, Dr. Hill sat at the negotiation table and visited with SFA. SFA was very accommodating with that and has given us some time to adjust ourselves so that when we go into the next budget year for the next school year, it wouldn't be a shock to this board that we're going to have to go back and revamp the budget we've already adopted. And so, Dr. Hill, thank you so much for the work that you've done,
Thank you,
keeping that
Dr. Hill.
price right there. We want to share our appreciation, SFA, also for understanding we're in a very tight budget across the state, and any dollar works in our advantage. So I wanted to make sure the board was aware of that. Thank you, Dr. Hill, for that work.
Thank you, Dr. Thrio.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So is this agreement that we have with them a flat rate, or is it, I get, as you said, it stayed the same, so it must be a flat rate rather than per student?
Correct, yes, ma'am. So that would vary. Yeah, the amount per pupil would,
Would
depend on the
change,
number of
so
students, yes, ma'am. But it's
would
been
we want-
120,000 since I've been here.
Okay.
But it will increase likely 8 to 10%. I know the original quote that they gave me was 130,000, which I believe was an 8% increase.
Okay.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah, I just was wondering why we didn't do it per student, do it X amount per student. I guess I'm kind of used to seeing that in our world, that, your cost per kid, and if you have fewer kids, then you have a...
I think that's a wonderful question. I do not have a good
I'd
answer
just
for
be
you.
curious if that would make a difference, if it's cheaper to do the flat rate, or, I don't know what the answer to that is, but...
That may be a good conversation as we start planning this year. We've got,
Of course.
they've given us some time for the full year.
Okay.
And then we go back into the contract negotiation for this next school year, 25, 26. 25, 26, yeah, wow.
Yes.
So it's crazy.
The
Same as you,
other-
so.
Question I have is if the further they get into the program, the more costly it is, and you might have shifts from kids who don't stay in the program. I'm just wondering if you could get it to where if you make it all, however many years you're in it, 4, 3, then at the end, you're paying more. Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
I just to kind of weigh and measure.
Of course.
How that expense works out.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Definitely put it on my list. Thank you.
Dr. Hill, totally not related to our campus or district. Are there any other school in the area that they have STEM building that have contract with SFA?
Lufkin.
Lufkin does.
Lufkin ISD it's both of us that are in this agreement with them.
But they meet at this different time? Or
We
the
meet
same?
at different times, yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Any question? Now back to Mr. Martin, Deputy Superintendent, MSB.
Thank you, President Normand, members of the board, Dr. Trujillo. Administration's requesting the board consider approving a payment to MSB for 8% of the fees for filing SHARS, school health and related services reimbursement for the district. The reimbursement from SHARS returns to the district to assist in providing services to students with special needs. The amount that the administration is requesting approval for is $59,280. Be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I have a question. If we're going to pay them 59, then we're going to make 62%. So what is the total amount that we're going to get versus what we're paying them? And are they local, or this is a specialized service from far away?
Yes, sir. This is a specialized service. Dr. Hill, are you familiar with MSB?
Yes, vaguely. I know there's SHARS.
Yeah, this is, when you're talking about this, you're talking specifically for your at-risk, high-risk students.
Right.
Otherwise, you'd see a really large number that was there. So these are students that are receiving those services, and we have individuals that provide those services that are either through contract services or through agencies that are around us, like the Burke Center or any other areas that we
So
have.
what the question is how much are we going to collect? We're paying them 59,000, and they're going to collect how much for us?
I don't
That
have
would
the
be,
exact
if they're
amount.
taking 8%, that means we get to keep
Sure.
92%, right?
Yes, sir.
So it would be, a large amount of money. We're trying to do it for people.
Yeah, we'd have to get that number for you to figure out what that
Yes.
value is, a total amount.
Well, I think it's just important for the people to recognize that we're paying 8% of a very large sum of money.
Oh, yes.
That's the idea of that question.
Okay, any more question? If you're just eager to know, get your calculator. Okay. Next, we move to item D, which is hazardous bus route for 2024-2025 school year. Mr. Harold Whitaker, Assistant Superintendent.
Thank you, and good afternoon, President Neermond, Board of Trustees, and Superintendent Trujillo. On page 52 of your board book, you will see the attachments regarding the 2024-25 list of hazardous bus routes. And working in collaboration with the Transportation Department, you will find those ones listed there, as well as the resolution regarding those traffic conditions. And administration is seeking that the board approves the bus routes and adopts the resolution regarding the hazardous traffic conditions there.
Okay, once again, it's my personal curiosity. Is there any new routes added or any routes has been taken off?
Yes, sir, there was a change in previous years on bus route number 29 regarding TJR. There was a change from bus 3, I believe, to bus 29 and straining that. But I also have Ms. Summer Adams, the operations supervisor, here, so you can kind of clarify some of the additional questions that you may have.
Yes.
Ms. Adams, would you come on up, please?
Summer, while you're coming up, can you also talk to the board and to the community? We do have a lot of construction that's happening in and around Nacogdoches with I-69 corridor, which causes bus routes to be diverted until those things. So can you elaborate a little bit on that as well, because those can create some hazardous bus routes that need to be adjusted.
That was the main reason I questioned that.
Yeah, so, hello. When Mr. Whitaker was talking about Route 29, originally, that was Route 3, and that's where the construction's going on the feeder road, if you were coming from the west side, 259. So we're gonna have a different bus pick that up, because we do have to look at the logistics of construction there. And so we're hoping, that's why we moved that area to 29, because of the natural flow that we already have it. We're hoping that they can come off of 7 and swoop in that area. But we're also looking at, when we're doing transportation, you have to look at every little minute. The logistics are a big thing, especially dealing with the way our city is set up around the outbounds outside of the loop. And one of the issues that we noticed was our lineup at the high school when we were leaving. Some of the buses that were at the very front were buses that were going in town. And so we're changing that lineup starting this school year to where the first buses that will go out are going to be the ones on the east side and the west side of 59, so that way they have a greater chance to get through that traffic.
Great.
Board, are there any additional questions that you may have?
I don't, and thank you for your efforts.
President Fashida, if you would allow me, one area that we do have is Margie Chumley. Okay, I just want to make sure the board is aware of this, and I want to know that, I want the teachers at Margie Chumley to be aware. This is something that they've regularly shared their concern with us, is that we have no reduction in speed when you're coming off, is it 59? When you're coming into town. I mean, you're 55 miles an hour, and it's tough for our students our teachers to make that left turn into the campus. So we've, Mr. Martin, we have repeatedly and will continue to reach out to TxDOT and other entities to consider that a school zone. We service students from the very littles, not littles, but your 10 years or above over at the alternative school, and that makes it tough for our families to make that turn, but also it is, in my opinion, a risk for our buses making that turn. So because of that turn, there are adjustments that transportation has to make, or else a bus could sit there for a while on how to get into Margie Chumley. We also have a need there. Students don't walk at Margie Chumley. It's not a walking campus, but we've had decisions made where students have decided to walk from there. Not decided, we fell short on our side of it for getting there in a timely fashion. That's why I appreciate what you're talking about, is the timeliness of buses, so that buses can get to the next service area and pick up students. Students that sit there and wait, and then they feel like they've been waiting there an hour, and they've literally been there probably 15 minutes, but that's a long time. And then a student makes a decision to walk. Well, when they make a decision to walk, for example, from Margie Chumley, that's a risk, that's a danger. It's not a school zone, traffic doesn't slow down. So we are doing some things to make sure that we can address that need at Margie Chumley. That is the one campus that we continue to be concerned with the flow of traffic. And we are championing the efforts to see if we can get a school zone put there so we can help the traffic for our teachers. I want to make sure teachers know that. Every year they say, what about the speed zone here? We are going to continue to hamper that, but we also want to, not hamper it, to support the need for that, and also to help transportation to get in there and service that campus. Do you know how many buses go into Margie Chumley, right off the top of your head?
Right now, in the morning, the way it was operating is all of our buses from the whole district would come to the high school.
Okay.
And then they would get on one bus and we would shuttle one bus over
Okay.
there. So right now, we're really only seeing 1 to 2 because then we would have a DAP, which is on that same campus. But we're looking at trying to do that in the afternoon as well. So that way, one, we would alleviate the traffic of so many buses going to Margie Chumley, because in the afternoon, if we can do the same thing of pulling students off of one bus back to the high school to let them disperse, one, that's a safer location, and that way we get police escort out at the high school, dealing with the traffic hazards of that. But as of right now, 1 to 2 buses.
Absolutely. And the other thing to add is no student is allowed to drive to Margie Chumley, whether they're there for the alternative school. They either get a transportation or parents drop them off. We say that because we are servicing 8 county schools, including Mount Enterprise now. And so when we service those students, we want to make sure we don't have high school kids driving from, say, Mount Enterprise and driving themselves down to the temporary placement at an alternate school. We want to make sure that they provide their transportation. So we have, you'll see buses coming from other school districts that will be delivering their students over to the Margie Chumley. That's a safety issue that we want to make sure that we address. But I want to make sure the board and the community understand that we don't allow a student placed in a disciplinary placement to drive themselves to that location. Parents either drop them off or they take our transportation if they're coming from one of our, from the high school or other campuses. So thank you.
Director Hill, is our campus police authorized to have parked the police vehicle with the lights going on? Just an indication that is, hey, slow down.
I'm going to actually ask the expert. Can he step out, Chief?
He got a phone call, he just had
Okay.
to go.
I'm going to tell you based on, and it's been a while since I've been in law enforcement, things change. But anytime you get out into the traffic flow, you can become a hazard also for the community. So we typically don't want to get out there and unnecessarily stop traffic. We do it at the high school, but it's quick. They come out there, they stop traffic, buses flow out. But for a vehicle to stand, for instance, if you go to graduation, graduation is an event, they close off that one lane, but you have multiple vehicles that are alongside that one lane, so it's no surprise they go in there. However, a staff member, non-law enforcement, we want to really stress the fact that they are not to be out in the traffic. They can't direct traffic. They do sometimes, but liability becomes greater when you're out there and you're directing traffic with a fender bender. But a police officer with limited control with regards to access, we can, but not on a permanent basis. It's got to be quick to make like we do at the high school. So,
My intention was not to stop the traffic, rather than they see the sign and slow down. That's true.
hopefully we'll get the speed signs over at Margie set in place for us. So.
Okay.
I wanted to say something here. The city gets federal funds to build sidewalks, and they prioritize where they're going to build them. Well, the reason we have these is that we get higher reimbursement is because they don't have sidewalks, particularly like, let's say, Park Street. Now, that's a long sidewalk, but what's to stop us from requesting from the city that we figure out there's a risk here, can we put a sidewalk here? And all we can do is request. Well, I'm just making a suggestion. It never hurts to consider that, because if it helped children have a safer entrance and exit, that would be good.
Dr. Gorman, as Dr. Trujillo said, getting into the weed, that route is not a city route, that's the federal route.
What?
Highway 59 is not under...
No, I'm talking about Park Street. I said, for example, Park Street.
Okay. Let's move on. Any question anymore? Any comments? Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. Thank you. Okay.
Chief is back if you want him to address it.
Sir?
Yeah, the chief is, if you want to ask.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Welcome back, chief. If you'll take the podium right quick, Coach Farshid will,
you know,
address the
I was looking at the Marjorie Chamberlain traffic hazards. I said, is it possible the campus police park the car on a shoulder with the lights on?
Are you just talking about like during drop-off?
Yes, so not to stop the traffic, but people, when they see the lights, they're on to slow down.
Okay, yeah, I can look into that, because
Yeah.
right now I have one officer assigned to that campus, and I really like him
Yeah.
actually in the building whenever everybody's being
It's
dropped off.
not, it's just a thought.
Yes, sir. Yes,
No.
sir. Yeah, I mean, I can look into it and try
Okay.
to make something work.
Yeah. Okay,
All right?
thank you.
Was that, what, 60 miles an hour?
55.
55.
Which is
Well,
really
they-
committed
I think
to
they
It goes off 60.
You know, it's a time that everybody's coming from north. Okay, next is Region 7 Purchasing Cooperative Resolution for 2024-2025. Again, Mr. Martin.
Thank you, President Norman, Dr. Trujillo. If I may, Mr. President, I'd like to address Dr. Gorman's earlier question for the amount that we received with SHARS. The estimated amount is around $741,000 that the district would receive, total $800,000.
So that's a good investment.
Very good investment, yes, sir. Thank you for bringing that point up. All right, President Norman, Nacogdoches ISD has been participating in the Region 7 purchasing co-op through an interlocal agreement for many years and would like to continue this beneficial agreement for the 24-25 school year. The budget impact is $3,371.50 to be taken out of local funds. This is an annually reoccurring item and is included in the business office budget. The administration is requesting the board approve the resolution with Region 7 Purchasing Co-op.
Great. People, do you have any comments, any question concerning? All right. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, item F is reschedule future agenda review and regular board meetings, and our superintendent, Dr. Trujillo.
President Farshid and board, through the tremendous work and efforts of our teachers last year, the district committees met and we adopted calendars that would work in meeting the needs of our school and our district. In doing so, we've also stepped on a couple of dates. So we wanted to make sure to be aware of the changes to some future board meeting in order to align the 24-25 academic calendar. We're recommending that the following items be considered. Announcing these changes at this time will allow the new dates to be published in advance, and Les would be able to put that on the website or any other updates that we need to put out there for the community. October agenda review would occur on Monday, the 21st at noon, and then the regular board meeting would occur on October 24th. It's on a Thursday at 5 p.m., and that was the changes due to the fall break. January agenda review would happen on Friday, the 24th at noon, and the regular meeting would occur in January, that Thursday, on the 30th at 5 p.m. This one was also an adjustment due to the Christmas break and the Midwinter Conference. In February, the agenda review would occur on Monday, the 24th at noon, and the regular meeting would occur February, that following Thursday on the 27th at 5 p.m. And this one was actually adjusted due to the bad weather day calendar that we had on that particular week. The final would be March, Monday 24th would occur the agenda review at noon, and it would be, Thursday's meeting would occur that March 27th at 5 p.m. That change was due to spring break occurring during that time. I didn't think anybody would want to be here during spring break during that time, so. And I've got one more for you. June agenda review, this is going into the summer, would be Monday, the 23rd at noon. The regular meeting would be on Thursday, the 26th at 5 p.m. And that's due to the holiday Juneteenth, to avoid that conflict on that particular day. I'll take any questions.
I have one. I'm bad at calendars. When is it usually? The third week?
Usually the board meetings are on the third week, yes.
So October, isn't that the third week, 21st and the 24th?
Well, usually occurs the third week. Sometimes the calendar, the way it falls, it may be the second week or the fourth week, and we're moving that to that particular date.
Okay, so the other months are the third Monday and Thursday,
Usually.
except these changes.
No, these are all adjustments.
I'll have to get with Holly.
Usually, I don't want to say yes, because then there's somebody looking at the calendar saying wrong,
I don't,
so.
At the bottom of it, it justifies why.
We're not counting like the weeks that start on Sunday, like October. We would count how many Thursdays. It's usually the third Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
See, you're finding, there was a loophole somewhere that I was not seeing. Okay.
But these are the dates that are there. Entertaining any other questions that you may have.
I'll have to see the list of all of them.
Thank you, sir. All right, now we move into discussion and action agenda. We have 7 items to discuss on the discussion and action portion of our agenda today. Starting with item A, discussion and possible action to approve Ideal Impact Service Agreement. Mr. Michael Martin would explain.
Thank you, President Norman. Several years ago, the district looked at a company called Ideal Impact to come in and take a look at our HVAC systems and how we might be able to conserve energy. Timing was not good at that time. I think we were installing LED lighting across the district, and we said that we would come back and take a look at this at a later time. Well, that later time is now. And we've invited in Ideal Impact to take a look across the district again at all of our HVAC systems and see if they would be able to help us conserve money with regards to those bills. They came in and they said that they think that they're able to save us around $371,000 a year. What they do is they come in and they weatherize the buildings, they put new controller systems in the air conditioners, new controls on the air conditioners, and they also have a patented software algorithm that helps keep the humidity down inside of buildings. Their initial charge was to churches. They went out and went to a bunch of churches and were able to help them save, and now they come in and they help school districts save as well. What we're asking the board to do, and on Thursday night, Jesse Aguilera and Ideal Impact will be here to present to the board for your consideration the service agreement that we are recommending that the district go into for these savings. Now, it comes at it is a hefty price tag on it, but there's no out-of-pocket money to the district. We pay as we save, basically. So the savings that we save from the energy or the non-use of the energy, then we pay Ideal Impact as part of our service agreement. Our service agreement is $1.4 million to make these changes. But again, we have several years to pay it off using the savings that we save from the non-use of the energy. Also have Mr. LaRue and Reggie Hudson here, as well as Dr. Trujillo. We've all seen this presentation and been working with this group for several months now. We'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
President Rashid, if you would allow me, before we get any questions from the board, I'd ask Mr. LaRue and Reggie to step up to the microphone right quick for us. I'd like, Reggie's been keeping up with this for many years for us. And I want to make sure the community knows that you've done a tremendous job, and I see those reports regularly. They come in about savings. Could you share, Reggie and Ralph, share with the board why you feel that this recommendation is a good recommendation for them to consider as we move in this direction?
Yes, I'd be happy to, Mr. President and board members and Dr. Trio. Some of you have been around a long time, you might remember that we did something similar to this about 25 years ago. And what we did then was basically learn how to turn things on and turn things off to save energy. And that's what we've been doing for 25 years, and it's really worked out well. Now, this is the next step, and this is a step where we use technology and the daily things that we have today to use to advance our savings. And this company, we've looked at it before, and like Mr. Martin says, it wasn't a good time at that time. But basically what they do, their main thing is to control the humidity through the technology. And that makes a whole lot of difference. As we all know around here, humidity is a big thing. If you get the humidity down, the temperature feels a lot better. But also, it's a lot easier to cool dry air than it is humid air. So this is one of the big areas that they do. The units don't have to work as much, so they don't run as much, and you save a lot. But that's just a small part of what they do. And they use a lot of the technology, and a lot of the stuff that they use are things that they have patented, and it's very successful. They have, as you'll see, many, many churches and schools that they've done this with. And so, just to give you an example, we turn the air conditioners on at a certain time every day so that the classrooms will be cool when the students get there. Their technology is so sophisticated that may vary, that time may vary. One day you may need to turn it on an hour and a half early, one day 30 minutes early. Their technology is so sophisticated that they use the weather forecast to adjust it the day before so that it really gets it. So they've really taken energy conservation to the next level, and that's what we're looking for right now. Any other questions about that?
Mr. LaRue, can you add something to this? And you were in the same presentation I was. Yes.
Oh, I was just going to ask, this is to either of you, that lowering the humidity, does it also help the integrity of the buildings and the materials we have, having this sort of temperature regulation, so not only energy savings, but
certainly does
help the
affect
buildings?
the building and the materials stored in the building, particularly the paper products.
Yeah, great.
One other facet of this is they tie directly into our calendar, our school calendar. And I say our school calendar, we are in the process of implementing a school calendar. We don't have a district-wide school calendar, which makes us unique. But we're in the process of adopting the school calendar. So every night at 10 p.m., this sophisticated system they have will take whatever has been scheduled into that calendar. It will grab all that and immediately schedule it. And as Reggie said, forecast with their algorithm. You know, it's a dead of winter, and it just takes all these different things into consideration and figures out when all these machines should be turned on. Currently, all of that 1,500 events that happen every year outside of normal school hours comes to our office on a piece of paper that says facility request, and it's been approved by the principal, the AD. I approve it. It goes through. We acknowledge it. We don't approve it. The principal is the only one who really approves it because it's happening in their facility. All of those functions, arrive on a piece of paper, and some poor sap in the HVAC department gets stuck sitting down at a computer and scheduling those events. And as Reggie said, they're pretty much just scheduled in, bam, it's a function at the high school auditorium, and it's 7 to 9, so the unit's going to come on at 6, that's it. We don't have access to that level of algorithm. We don't have that $1 million worth of components. So all of that will be taken over. Now, there will be some crying and screaming, because it's going to be an automated calendar. So if you didn't put your event in, it's clearly not going to be there. Calling me at 8 o'clock in the evening to tell me the amphitheater, the theater is warm, I bet it is.
Yes.
We didn't schedule it, so.
You get to slap hands, don't you?
Well, that's what slap hands, because we don't want to punish the people that are inside the building, because one of us didn't get a notice. But anyway, the automation part is very exciting. And it, will free up some of our staff to get off
Mr. LaRue,
the computer.
we used to call it facility request. Now, let's say there's a basketball game scheduled for Tuesday night, and it's such a bad weather, they moved it to Wednesday night. If that was scheduled for Tuesday night, somebody has to reprogram it. Am I correct?
You are correct.
And that person who has to reprogram it is going to be locally, correct?
Correct.
And that person has to go through a training to manage this, right?
Okay, the system it's a step above that.
Okay. You just tell them what to do, they'll do it?
It's automated.
Okay.
Now-
They come to our school district, they make all of these changes, they leave.
Yeah.
And they manage a little bit from afar,
Yeah.
but it's an automated system, so if it's in the school calendar, it's going to be scheduled. So when they figure out the game's been canceled for Tuesday night, they enter that in and reschedule it for Thursday. And it also, I should say, they build in, like for a basketball game, you've got the gymnasium.
Right.
Well, you've also got the main entrance hallway in the 9th grade center. You've got the locker room. You've got all these ancillary things that they will build in. A lot of people will put in a facility request to the library and say they need the library at the high school for such and such, and we schedule it, and then they call us and say, well, you didn't turn the air conditioner on in the library, and it's running, and the library is fine, but they're upstairs, the second floor of the library, which is a completely different unit.
President Fashid and Board, just so you're aware, the automation of this system, and listening to the same presentation that we were, Mr. Martin, Mr. LaRue, we all sat there, Reggie, you were there with us. There are certain things, and you can speak to this, we order a device, we put it on top of a building, it's an air conditioning unit. However, we don't probably have the full scale of its full capacity to hook up. This company does the humidifier. They're going to touch every unit in the district, and there are some pieces of technology that we can have, for instance, at Carpenter, and it sits there, and it's not any slam on our current HVAC people, but if the system isn't designed and we don't have a school dude, we don't have a calendar, it's not tied in there to actually do the automation, there are certain things that these air conditioning units may not have connected. For instance, the capacity of monitoring humidity use and being able to adjust the humidity in a room. They're going to touch every one of these HVAC systems, from what I understand. And you talk about the high school. They're going to know that there's one that goes to the main high school library, and they know that there's one for the library upstairs. Whereas right now, we're not that specific when it comes to it. So some of the technology that you heard is able to tap into the full capacity of some of our HVAC systems so that we can tie into its full technology connection. Is that what you're following?
Yeah, there's first of all, there's over 900 HVAC pieces of equipment. We've got 4 people in our HVAC crew, so there's a lot to cover. But those units arrived to us, we set them on the roof more commonly than anywhere else. They arrived with a bunch of set points. Humidity control is one of them. 20, 30, 40 set points. We use a half dozen. Primarily what Reggie was talking about is we schedule stuff. And it's a point of clarification, we don't turn the air conditioner on at a certain time. The air conditioners are always on. We have a setback, just like you have at your house. When you leave, I mean, most of us, when we leave our house, we set back, I'm not going to be here, I don't need to cool this whole place. When I come back in the evening, I turn it back where it's going to be comfortable for us. That's what we do. It's just a setback. So the units aren't, off. People are all freaked out that we turn the air conditioners off. We don't turn them off, but the set point for us is near 80 degrees. So when you come in and it's not scheduled, yes, it's warm. But there's a lot of controls within those sophisticated units that our control system is not designed to hook to and read and interface with. And this is just going to step us up to the next level of automation.
That was my question. So in other words, we have to put certain part added to what already have to make it functionable.
Yes.
My question would be, what about, like Microsoft the other day messed up a lot of computers. What about breakdown, glitches in the system?
Happens every day. You're talking to somebody who hates technology. I wish we still had a thermostat on the wall that I could control. We are completely, 100% dependent upon technology in our world. Accept it, move on, get over it. I don't know what to tell you, because they're going to break down. When we got hacked a few years ago, air conditioner was either on or was off. If your air conditioner was off, there was nothing we could do. People who had hacked us had control, and it was, just out of our control. It's all locally controlled. Our people are still in control. But the machines are set up now that they can only be turned on by computers. 10 years ago, when the controller quit working, I could go out. It wasn't rocket science. There's 2 or 3 wires, bugged them together, and the unit ran. That's not possible anymore. It's just like your car. You can't throw the hood up and do anything underneath there. So it's very automated, but not. We're no more dependent on automation than we are right now. We've already made that decision.
So that risk is the same?
Yeah, we're already at a point. When the internet goes down, we can't communicate from school to school. Now, when the internet goes down, the units run on whatever program they've been programmed. When it goes down, we simply can't make changes, alterations. We can't do much. We're kind of dead in the water.
What role the electricity works in there? What role the electricity works in there? In other words, if there's a blackout.
It doesn't affect, when the system comes back on, there's a certain amount of rebooting and stuff, that's all automated, it comes back on.
So there's a lot of questions we have
Do we
to
know
ask
of anybody that already uses this system?
Yes, they'll talk to that Thursday night.
Yeah, and we also included in your packet some references as well.
What's interesting is some side items that you'll note in their presentation. Tardy's dropped down, you talked about, it's anecdotal, they don't know if it's connected. Lost and found, they were not collecting as much lost and found. I think the transition between cold weather and hot weather, we have a lag time sometimes whenever we go to a cold spell, and all of a sudden it's not winter time yet. And how do you adjust that so that the devices work? We have all been in rooms that the thermostat is actually in the hallway, and you're in a room that's burning up because it's trying to control the temperature out in the hallway or in another room. They're going to evaluate placements of thermostats if they're close to a window, and the sunshine's coming in and it's hitting that thermostat and freezing people out, they're going to look at all the aspects of the facility. And then what's interesting in their testament is, even with brand-new buildings, they mentioned a zero, what's it called, a zero utility use campus, it's all green. They were supposed to save a certain amount of money, and they went in there and actually saved some with regards to that zero footprint that's there. So those are some big items that they're able to do. And if you'll permit me, I want to make sure I recognize Mr. LaRue. He went to his old high school this last weekend, 50-year class reunion, right?
It went much better than I thought it would.
50 years.
I had fun. It was
And so
good.
I just wanted to make that
It was a good
side note. He was able to go home and be with his former student friends.
Had never been to a class reunion.
I have a segue for a question. When I was looking through all this and they talked about putting either a program or code into our computer system, the thing that went to my mind is hackers and ransomware, because we've already had that. You mentioned it. So how does our security system, like we have a security system around our district, but they're still going to have access to their, somehow, does that come through our system and then go to their system, or how do we prevent hacking using their equipment and giving them access?
We are one of many holes in the firewall. I'm looking around for technology, they're not here, but we have our fire alarm system pokes through our firewall and goes out to a monitoring system, so they have access. Our building security does, and our HVAC system currently already pokes a hole through the firewall and goes out to a company that has access. They're going to use that same system, the same company, so there won't be any more.
That's the same. Well, see what I'm talking about? What if that company's hacked and then somebody can come in through that hole, right?
They can.
Okay, that's what I'm looking at. We just need to understand our risk so we can manage it. So we can get more information, but the other thing I wanted to mention, it was way back in the back
Dr.
of
Groman,
this.
before you leave that one, also the relationship we have with Absolute Technology, $250,000, we talked about it earlier. It's not just the technology on the maintenance and operations, it's also a relationship with companies like Absolute Technology, where we have an army of folks that are going to be at our beck and call to come in here and figure out how do we patch that intrusion, how do we stop it from happening again? Because we can do this on this side of it to fix it, but if we don't have a strong team to figure out how did it happen and how can we stop it, that's where Absolute Technology and the commitment that this board has had for us to expand and have, we have a great technology team here, but you have an army with Absolute Technology that's going to be able to provide some support for that. And it also goes to Reverend's point, this Microsoft issue that happened nationwide is bringing in the think tanks of folks that are out there trying to solve problems. Absolute would also be in there to try to see, okay, what's going on in Nacogdoches? This is one of our clients. We got to get them back on and going forward, so.
I don't know that this really affects y'all, but I thought that the fact that criminal history record checks, they will not send anyone to our school that's not vetted. And I think that's really important for the safety of our students. So that, I'm glad when we sign that, then they have to fulfill that for the safety of our students.
I should mention the majority of this work, which is a lot, because they're going to touch all over 900 units out there. The majority of this work will happen after hours. Just like when a few years ago, when we converted to LED, it was pretty much seamless. Most people didn't really know it happened until they came in and flipped the switch on, and the lights are nicer, because all that work happened at night. It'll be the same style program.
But if it does happen during the day, they're vetted, we know that they're safe
Regardless of what
around our
time it is,
students.
they're vetted.
Just curiosity, how long does it take to implement all of those?
Did they say 6 months?
6 months. And I think you prioritized their work first with Margie and the high school. Those were the two sites that I know Ralph was saying, let's prioritize. Margie, if you followed, Margie's has a very, every year it's a humidity issue. Remember, I think it used to be coolers?
Well,
Something.
the issue with Margie Chumley is it actually has one of those super advanced, state-of-the-art HVAC systems that really functions great when the building's full of people. When it goes empty, that system just is at a loss. It just doesn't function well in a building that hasn't got any people in it. And that's when we have issues.
I think we'll leave some of these questions for the Thursday night, so
Yeah.
public would be informed what we're discussing as well.
And these,
Yeah.
the folks that'll be presenting Thursday night, they have, for whatever reason, it is their mission to save energy. And it started out as a church thing, Reverend, and they've been, their record is really esteemed, but they're very passionate about their work.
And President Fashidi, to the board, if you want to see something that's real world, that's out there, all we have to look up is Bullard ISD. They're in the news with regards to this. Brand-new facilities with brand-new HVAC systems. The band director came in, it fires up, just like you're saying, fires up, gets it cooled, and then it shuts down in the evening. When they came in, all the band uniforms, mold. Band instruments, mold. So they got a tremendous cleanup issue because of this fluctuation of temperature. And we think, and Reggie, we talked about this a while ago, is we think just because we flip on the air conditioning, it solves everything. It's also what happens whenever there's nobody in the room and you're regulating that room so you don't have things growing on the walls or growing on the backside of computers or on your merchandise that you have. So it's a lot of the mold. We'll see a healthier group. So you'll get a good report from the folks on Thursday evening.
Okay.
And I'd like to take just a brief moment, speaking of people with passion. Reggie has been doing this forever and has saved you all, I can't tell you how much. He finds something that's running that shouldn't be running, he calls me. We get it turned off.
Thanks, Rich.
And he handles the water too, doesn't he?
Yeah, and we've solved a lot of water leaks, and he's really doing you.
I am well aware of Reggie because there was nights I was working late and all of a sudden somebody walks around, flips them lights off.
That's right, that's right.
It's pretty serious, Pat.
Yeah.
Very.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Okay, next item would be the discussion for possible action to approve the resolution for ideal impact payment plan agreement. I guess we'll leave that for the next time discussions. Okay, next we're going to go to item C, is the first reading of policy EH local. Again, presenter would be Dr. Hill.
Thank you, President Nurman. I would like to ask Dr. Corley to come up again, I know, right? But I do want to say thank you to Dr. Trujillo, who charged us with creating this local policy today for your consideration for a first reading.
Thank you, Dr. Hill. Hi again. I'm here to speak to you about EH Local. I'm excited about this policy. I'm grateful for the consideration because it really explains the practice behind curriculum management. And if everyone will remember, a year ago, we had a curriculum audit that we volunteered for because we knew there was areas, and under Dr. Hill's supervision, we are still focused on the findings from that report. So this policy outlines important components for curriculum management, assessment, planning, as well as professional learning. It discusses the three types of curricula, which is the written, taught, and tested. Many of our teachers and our campus administrators are familiar with these components of curriculum design and delivery because we've been working and training and learning together about these for about 3 years now. And so having this policy approved and put into place would be a great structure, and it would be grounded on a lot of the concepts that are already in practice. It just never has been anywhere written except for like in manuals or guidebooks or procedures.
Okay, other comment? Board, if you have any problem with that or objection, we can put that on a consent agenda. Okay?
Well, this is first reading. This is first reading. isn't it?
Oh, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. It's first reading. Okay, we go back to it. Next item is again, first reading of TASB Policy Update 123. Mr. Michael Martin.
Thank you, President Nerman. As the board is aware, the Texas Association of School Boards has released Policy Update 123, which includes revisions to the listed policies below. Although legal policies are included in the manual updates from TASB, only local policies are to be considered. I think the board has about 14 policies there. We are prepared to go through every single one at the board's wishes. What say you, President Nerman?
I think it was about almost 400 and some pages, am I correct?
Yes, sir. You are correct.
Yeah. If you have time and we have time, yeah.
It's the first reading.
It's the first reading.
Mull it over, and second reading, I'll come
Second
up
reading,
with
yeah, you've got time, you have time. Administration is recommending that the board approve first reading of Policy Update 123.
Okay, if recommendation, can we put that on a consent agenda?
Again, it's
With
first reading.
I know, but that's my part, here it says optional. We can put it on a consent agenda? Do you all have any problem? Okay. Item E is consideration of the board action on resolution of the Nacogdoches ISD School District denouncing change to Title IX. Again, is Mr. Martin.
Thank you, President Nerman. If I may, I'd like to turn the floor over to Superintendent Trujillo.
President Nerman and Board, before we get started, just so you're aware, I am sending a letter to the Executive Director Troxel and Associate Executive Director Baskin with TASB, and making sure that we communicate with them the will of this board and the will of this community. I'm going to read the letter to you, and then you'll get an opportunity to look at the resolution for Mr. Martin. It says, with Governor Greg Abbott's recent letter to the President of the United States, Biden, dated April 29, 2024, opposing instructions from the federal government with regards to the latest Title IX 2024 reclassification. Texas K-12 public and charter schools find themselves caught in the ongoing tug-of-war between state and federal directives. Governor Abbott's directive to Texas Education Agency for the state's public schools to ignore the federal directive leaves us caught in a no-win situation. This correspondence serves as a notice. Nacogdoches ISD will follow the governor's direction. In turn, we expect policies crafted for us by Texas Association of School Boards with legal and local to reflect and adhere to the governor's instruction. Please provide sensible and practical policy options so that NISD and other similar thinking school districts around the state are not left defenseless in our own communities, which has been the case with previous changes of Title IX policy. NISD believes in protecting girls' and women's rights in our schools, specifically in athletic competitions and in use of facilities such as locker rooms and restrooms, as well as the protection of our teachers and staff from lawsuits and criticism related to unreasonable assignment of pronouns. While I am addressing concerns on behalf of the Nacogdoches ISD, I suspect a number of school districts and communities across Texas are reluctant to implement these federal regulations, and in an era marked by ongoing tensions and open hostility that exists between state legislators and leaders, educators, and paraeducational groups, the Texas public education community has an opportunity to stand with the vast majority of reasonable Texans on this issue and not administer one more self-inflicted public relations setback. These are difficult times, to say the least, but this is an opportunity to take advantage of the rare case of doing the right thing, intersecting with good policy. That is the request that I am making to our state agency with where this board stands with regards to the Title IX changes. The resolutions, Mr. Martin, if you would share that with, and then we'll entertain any questions the board may have.
Do you want to, for approval, we can wait till Thursday night?
It's fine. We don't need to go through the resolution because you can see it all. You kind of get the gist based on the letter that's being written on what we're looking for. But we can wait for Thursday night if you like. Whatever the will of the board.
You may go ahead, read it.
Okay. As Dr. Trujillo mentioned, recent changes to Title IX, and then the governor's decision or directives to us. We're expecting policies to be written by TASB that'll help guide us in regards to these instructions that we've received, both from the governor and the change to Title IX, in which this resolution would denounce those changes for Nacogdoches ISD. On page 483 in your board book, you will find the written resolution that we're proposing the board approve so that we can send it.
Okay, as a board president, I must sign those documents. I am 110% in favor of what direction we like to go. However, I'd like the public know, so they don't think that we made the decision behind their scenes. It's publicly we make that decision. What is the opinion of the board? You agree with waiting until Thursday night? Yeah. Like I said, I can carry the shoulder. I have no problem with it, but I don't want to make a decision without other people's knowledge and be detrimental for the district in my behalf. Okay. With that said, may move into item F, which is consideration of the board action on adoption of 2024-2025 Student Code of Conduct. Mr. Marvin Tarbert, please.
Good afternoon, President Neermond, trustees, Dr. Trujillo. It is that time of year again where we come together. Board policy FO, legal and local, requires that the annual board adoption of the Student Code of Conduct. There were no major changes to the Student Code of Conduct from last year, and so we are coming together to ask the board to approve the 24-25 NISD Student Code of Conduct as presented.
Okay, I haven't looked at it yet, but are there our students and they have cell phone restriction for any taking classroom or not? The reason I'm asking, excuse me, the reason I'm asking because this meeting we went, there was pretty good questions about it, and some school they collect it, and some school they even say no Apple Watch in the classroom. So I don't know where we are and how we operate.
The use of technology, unapproved use of technology is addressed in the Student Code of Conduct. Okay. Yes, sir.
I have to look at it myself, educate myself.
Yeah.
All right.
You'll find that on page 12 of the policy whenever, just a quick reference, whenever you do review it with regards to the cell phone use in possession telecommunication devices. So.
Okay. And finally, item G, consideration of a voting delegate and alternate for 2024 TASA and TASB Convention Delegate Assembly. It says, the assembly held annually in conjunction with the TASA and TASB Convention. It is the foundation of the association's governance structure. The 2024 conference will be held in San Antonio beginning on September 27. The delegate assembly will be held on September 28, which is Saturday. This year, the delegates will participate in regional caucus and general assembly. Board members attending the conference, along with our superintendent, Dr. Trujillo, are Reverend James Irvin, Dr. T.C. Groman, and Mrs. Mindy Winslow. I would ask Mrs. Mindy Winslow to be the delegate, and Reverend Irvin would be the alternate. Okay? There is no budget impact. Any more questions?
Thank you.
Yes.
I just want to say, though, I sincerely appreciate Dr. Groman's willingness to always serve as a delegate when we've gone in the past. So when he said, I just think I want to sit back, I was like, what?
I'm 6 for 7.
Yeah. So I just wanted to tell you thank you for always being willing to do that. I appreciate it.
Okay, normally at this time, we'll go to the executive closed session. However, we don't have any topic to discuss. So therefore, we're moving on to the final stage, which is, I'm asking the motion for adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
I second.
All in favor indicate saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. We adjourn.
Aye.